Hey everybody, welcome back to Movie Master, where we rank, review, trailer react, and talk news about movies, TV shows, and sometimes video games. Today, we're going to be ranking all the Karate Kid movies and TV shows. So this includes all 5 Karate Kid films and all 4 seasons of Cobra Kai so far. Now remember, this is indeed spoilers for those who haven't seen season 4, or the rest of the seasons, or any of these movies, okay? So make sure to keep an ear out, and make sure if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below what's your favorite Karate Kid movie or Cobra Kai season. Nonetheless, let's get into it, and let's start off at the first one. At number 9 is the Karate Kid 2010 reboot. Overall, this movie is a bit different. It takes a guy from a kid named Xiao Dre, from Detroit, and takes him to Japan or China. And he learns karate from, well, Jackie Chan's character. And overall, the plot is about him learning kung fu and karate, and basically defeating his bullies. It's basically retrading some steps and just changing up some back stuff and actors. Pretty much, it's a pretty different film from the last few installments of its franchise. It's a massive big time gap between 1994 and 2010. So you can tell it's a massive big time gap between what happened between when they made those movies. It's not a sequel; it's a complete reboot, and it's a very different movie. It's very odd in the franchise. It's a completely one-off movie. It was a very unique movie for a time. It was 11 years ago. I think it's been about 11 years ago since it's been... No, wait, 12 years ago, actually, now. So it's 12 years ago since that movie was released, since now it's 2022, and now it's 10 years for 2012 and 11 for 2011. So now it's been 12 years since 2010. Wow, that is just shocking for me, in my opinion. But nonetheless, this movie retreads some steps and does some new things, but pretty much it's just a reskin of the Karate Kid. I merely watch it to make fun of it. I watched it as a little kid, like at 9 and 10. I haven't really watched it since, and I don't really see reasons why. It's honestly not really that interesting, so yeah. At number 8 is the next Karate Kid. The next Karate Kid, now, I do not have anything against this movie. I like how it tries to take everything in a new direction. It doesn't have Daniel LaRusso. I can already tell that the film would have tried to get Daniel LaRusso's actor on, but obviously he declined it. But even without that, I like how they don't make the fact that this hero replaces the old one. They don't make it blatantly obvious. A lot of movies from this time, the 1990s and 80s, when they replaced the hero, they made it kind of blatantly obvious, and it was kind of annoying how it was so obvious made. So it's nice how the Karate Kid was kind of like a new movie. It was likely going to have a sequel if it could, but I think it was great as a one-off. It was sad it didn't get a sequel at least, but I still think it was a good film. I can see why it didn't get a sequel, considering by then the Karate Kid mania had kind of died down. The third film, it was the last one to pretty much squeeze a good amount of stuff from fans. Some fans would have gone to watch the next Karate Kid, but by this point, the train had stopped, and the water had pretty much drained from this franchise. But it's a good movie. I recommend you watch it. It's very different from its last 3 installments. It tries something new, and this movie is the first unique one to have a female lead, and it kind of sets the stage for future female characters in the Karate Kid franchise in a great way. And number 7 is The Karate Kid Part 3 in 1989. Now, this one was the final movie in the Daniel LaRusso saga, and this was what finished off his trilogy. After this, you would kind of be left dormant for a little while until Cobra Kai came back in 2018. And this is kind of cool because it's a really cool, unique movie that kind of breaks down Daniel's character. We see him break down. We see him go into Cobra Kai. We see him break down in the Cobra Kai. And then, yeah. And if you watch Cobra Kai Season 4, it kind of expands more in this movie. And it kind of really goes back to harken back and reference that third movie. And make callbacks and reference that movie. And I think that's what the Cobra Kai series is all about. Referencing and making callbacks to that and leaving in Easter eggs for fans that were diehard fans of it. And I'm really excited to see what I was really excited about the film. It was a really good film. It was weird seeing Terry Silver's over the top of the performance. Thomas Ian Griffith gave a very over the top performance as Terry Silver, but it felt realistic once we learned its backstory that he was actually hopped up. Not the actor, the character he was playing at 1985 was hopped up on cocaine. Terry Silver's character was hopped up on cocaine in 1985. Not the actor himself, but the character he played at the time. The character he played at the time was hyped up on cocaine and revenge. And it was very unique that he turned Daniel to a Cobra Kai, and he kind of is the only student that, well, Terry Silver was taught the Quicksilver method. A man can't stand, he can't fight. A man can't breathe, he can't fight. A man can't see, he can't fight. Extreme situations require extreme measures. This movie kind of breaks down Daniel Lewis's character, and we see him break down at the seams, and we realize he's not as strong as he is, but we soon see him rise back up and defeat Cobra Kai, who could have, had they won, would have expanded dojos across the valley. And since Daniel had taken down Cobra Kai twice, he knew he had to do it again. He soon failed trying to take down Cobra Kai in the diplomatic way and the fighting way. He now needs to go on the offense in new Cobra Kai season to try and take down Cobra Kai, since now they've now won the All Valley, something that Daniel and many others feared they would do. And it's unfortunate, but at least this movie ended on a good note, with Daniel winning the All Valley and then, well, going off to start up his dealership. And yeah. But yeah, overall, this movie took a unique turn for the Karate Kid franchise, and I think I'm very glad what they did. They did really well with it, and they did so amazing with it. And number 6 is Season 2 of Cobra Kai. Now, I've already said this isn't really my favorite season. I don't really hate it. It's just never really been my favorite. I feel like it's not as strong as its other seasons. It seems to be a bit weaker than its other seasons. Not because some characters I like are bad and some characters I like are good. It really pushes those characters to their evil limits. But it feels like the writing for some of them, the flow of the story is very poor. Sam is written very bad in this season. Her writing is worse than Season 1, and it's honestly not really that great. I'm not a Sam hater, but I agree her writing was pretty decent in Season 1. It set up her character well. Season 2 writing was kind of really terrible, and it felt like it was just being set up for the next season. Even great writers such as them, Josh Harold, Hayden Schlossberg, and John Hurwitz can even make mistakes with writing, and I think Season 2 they made a few mistakes. They set up stuff well. The first few episodes were quite an enjoyable ride. Then they kind of dipped down on the few episodes and rose back up in the next few, and kind of kept consistently, then went bleh and dipped down and then dipped back up. The ending episode was the best one out of them all, and the best fight overall was the school fight. And I'd agree that it's the best fight out of the entire series, and nothing has beaten it so far. The choreography for the school fight was so well done, and yeah, the only fight I would say that could beat that would indeed be the All Valley tournament from Season 4. This one where we just really get deep into it. It's likely they'll eventually find a fight that will beat the school fight in my personal opinion, but for now I say it's one of the best fights, and it has some good episodes in it, but overall it doesn't really have many memorable moments in Season 2 that I can harken back to. Season 1 and 3 seem to fill that spot more purpose. But nonetheless, I think what they did well. Now, at number 5 is The Karate Kid Part 2. I think this movie does what it does well. It does what Cobra Kai Season 2 did really decently, I'd say. It picks up where the last one left off and kind of goes in its own direction. That's one thing I'll say Cobra Kai Season 2 did really good. Karate Kid Part 2 did that really good too. It really did a good way of picking up on the last movie and kind of going its own route. It did a sort of rinse and repeat, but it did it in such a clever way. Johnny Lawrence is replaced with Chosen, but Johnny Lawrence still reappears to confirm he still exists. They do a clever way of why Ali isn't in the opening scenes. Elizabeth Shue wouldn't have been there for the next film, but they give a clever way as to why she isn't there. Like she's with her mom at a shop. He's with Daniel's mom at a diner waiting for their celebration lunch, and then they break up. So it kind of adds realism that Daniel won't always. High school sweethearts never always work out. Although I would want Sam and Miguel and Toy and Robbie to work out, but nonetheless, it just kind of shows you that not all high school romances can work out. Some can, some can't. But yeah, it was exciting to see they took it to such a unique location. It didn't feel like it was just shoehorning in a random thing. Like, for the first time I watched it, I wasn't being a big fat movie guy. I was just being a fan enjoying this movie because I just watched the first two which popped on Netflix. I watched the first one, then the second one. And it was very exciting. I watched them at my nan's place when she was living in an apartment back then at the time. She wasn't living in her house. She was living in an apartment. I watched it like back in 2020. The first two films were really fun. I watched the first two films back to back. The third film came on Netflix later. But overall, Karate Kid Part 2 was another fun adventure. It's why I think Karate Kid Part 3 and the next Karate Kid kind of faltered in there movie-wise. So yeah. But overall, this movie was one of the best out of the series. but it wasn't as good as its predecessor. And number 4 is Cobra Kai Season 1. Now, I think this series does great at reintroducing us to the world of the Karate Kid. They go to us, how do we pick up with these characters from the Karate Kid Part 3 and certain movies? Like, where do we pick up from where Johnny left off in the Karate Kid Part 1? Where do we pick up from Daniel LaRusso in the Karate Kid Part 3? Where do we pick up from those points in time? At the time, we didn't know Karate Kid Part 2 or 3 was canon. I was 11 when the series debuted on YouTube Red in 2018. I watched the first 2 episodes on YouTube Red. I couldn't get the next few. I saw the school fight when Miguel got paralyzed, and then when it came on Netflix, I tried to watch Season 1, but instead I watched Season 3 instead. It's because, well, yeah. So yeah, I was fascinated what Season 3 was, and so I watched it. And, well, yeah. And then obviously I went back to watch Karate Kid Part 1 and 2, then Cobra Kai Season 1 and 2, and then Cobra Kai Season 3. So yeah. But yeah, so far I think Season 1 does a great way of reintroducing us to the world of the Karate Kid and expanding upon it, bringing in new characters. They cast such great young actors to play these roles. Mary Mauser, Jola Maria Duena, Jacob Bertrand, Gianni, and, well, obviously many other actresses. And it was really well done how they cast all these well done actors and actresses. And even brought in ones that were new, like Anthony and Amanda, who's Daniel's wife. And I think they did it so well. And introducing new characters like Robbie Keane. It was so fascinating how they introduced new characters and connected us back to the old one. They made a lot of connections back to the first movie. They only wanted to stick with Daniel and Johnny. They didn't want to introduce Chris or the other ones just yet. They kind of wanted to focus on Johnny's story. The first one was about Johnny's story. Season 2 was kind of like Johnny and Chris's story. Season 3 was kind of Miguel's story, in my opinion. It was Johnny's yet Miguel's story mostly, and Season 4 was kind of the All Valley Tournament. Season 5 we don't know, but I think Season 1 did a great way of reintroducing us to the Karate Kid, because while the Karate Kid Part 1, 2, and 3 introduced us to this world, and the Karate Kid 1984 introduced us to this new world, and then Part 2, 3, and the next Karate Kid expanded upon this world, with Cobra Kai now taking place years after those movies. We now get to catch up with our favorite characters. So yeah, this series was a very great season, and I think it kicked off well and had a bit of a speed bump for Season 2. I'm not saying it's a terrible season. It did have its issues where it flowed a bit weird, but overall Season 1 is a really great season, and I think it was amazing. It was a really great way to start off the show, and it was a strong start, and I think the next season was a pretty good continuation. And then obviously that leads us into number 3, Season 3 of Cobra Kai. Now this was my favorite season of the show, and I still find some memorable episodes. I like it a bit more than Season 4. Season 4 and the story-wise was really great. I loved Season 3. I thought it did really well with what it was trying to do, and it presented such a great way to tell the story. And it picks up off Season 2, where Season 2 left with the most devastating ending yet. Miguel's been paralyzed. Miguel is now in the hospital. He could be fighting for his life, even possibly dying. Robbie is now run off on the run. Daniel has now shut down Miyagi-Do, and Cobra Kai got taken away from Johnny Lawrence. And now he has nothing but that. And Carmen does not want to speak to him ever again. That's how we end off the series. The next season is to try and introduce us to where are they now. And this is kind of the final season of the YouTube Premium era. Yes, although it was made by Netflix, it was produced by YouTube Red. So it's like the final YouTube era season, in my opinion, where Season 1 and 2 was supremely made by YouTube. Season 3 was also the last season of the YouTube Red era. So Cobra Kai Season 1 to 3 is the YouTube era, Red era of Cobra Kai. And Season 4 and onward will indeed be the Netflix era. But nonetheless, I think Season 3 did really well with what it was given, and it continued on from where the last two seasons left off. And it did so well with the story, in my opinion. It did really well with the story and what they were trying to tell, and I think they did really great with that. So yeah, I was very excited. I'm very excited to see where they can go with the series. And I think Season 3 ended on a great note for Season 4 to pick up on, and it did so well with that, and yeah. And at number 2 is... Cobra Kai Season 4. Now, although this is a shocker, I do think it's an amazing season. It did really well with what it was trying to do. It amazingly went into new territory that was completely undivided, and I really think it did well with that. Now, this is a shocker considering I said I put it at number 1 for the TV shows, but I think it did really well, and I think it was an amazingly well done season. Overall, it kind of just finishes up the story that season 1 through 3 did, and I think it amazingly sets up season 5 of Cobra Kai, and I'm very excited to see what will happen to the show and where we could go with it, and I really think they did well. Bringing back Sylvie's Terry Silver, setting up his arc, Stingray, even though no one cared about him, making Anthony important for once. Yeah, it was very fascinating. They did jump around and made certain characters important and not important, and yeah, it was kind of an issue. I think I didn't really know who to balance that much. It kept making characters important than not important. I hope season 5 can balance that out a bit. And I'm very happy that this season was so well done, and I'm very excited to see what the next season can do, since the next season will be in uncharted territory. No pun intended for those video games, but I think the next season will be going into not very looked at territory, uncharted territory and areas of the Karate Kid franchise. So yeah, that season 4 was a great season. I think it was the best out of all Cobra Kai seasons. And at number 1, you guys knew this was probably going to happen, The Karate Kid, released in 1984. Now, I have a bit of different opinions from what I said last time. This movie, in my opinion, was a really great movie. I think it really did well to introduce us to this world of karate. The concept of bullying and the concept of all these characters, and the fact that there's more to them than meets the eye. Now, even though they do make Daniel and Johnny the good guy and bad guy here, they're kind of just, yeah, they make it very unique, and I really think that if you watch Cobra Kai, you kind of get even more of an appreciation for the Karate Kid Part 1. And I think this movie sets up so well for future films. It's such a great way to set it up open-ended, and the fight choreography is really great. Even though you can tell it's realistic, and that they change it up in Cobra Kai when they make it more action-looking. And I do think that the season sets up the story well, and it does really well for sequels to follow up. And the fact the Karate Kid was even going to end with, well, Mr. Miyagi saving John Kreese from choking Johnny. But instead they said, oh, well, they're going to make a sequel. They'll pick it up from there. And that's what I really think the Karate Kid Part 2 did really great, along with Part 3. So yeah, I think in my opinion, yeah, it was a great way to do everything, and I think it did everything really, really well. And well, yeah, I think Karate Kid did everything overall really good, and I think this was just an amazing movie, and it was a very fun experience. Like, if you rewatch it, you can't have a bad time really watching this. It's like watching Back to the Future 1, Part 1, you can't have a bad time watching it. And it's very fun. It's just the starting of a franchise. It's the beginning, and then you see the middle and the later part. The end isn't near yet, but overall, yeah. That's my video on ranking all the Karate Kid movies. All 5 Karate Kid movies, and all 4 seasons of Cobra Kai. That's ranking all 9 things of Karate Kid franchise. Now, I will indeed maybe one day give a Miyagi-verse ranking, where I rank the Miyagi-verse of Karate Kid. And yeah, tell me what you guys think about this video in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what's your favorite season of Cobra Kai and why, and what's your favorite Karate Kid movie and why, and what's your least favorite maybe. And make sure to share this video with your family and friends so that, well, they don't miss out on this content. And also, yeah, tell me what you guys think. And sorry that I haven't been able to do a Spider-Man movie ranking. I did intend to do one after No Way Home's release on Boxing Day, but my father and some other issues prevented me from being able to make the video. So yes, you guys will indeed get one of those, likely when Across the Spider-Verse releases October. I'm not doing a re-ranking it when Morbius comes out. I'll be re-ranking it when Across the Spider-Verse comes out. Okay, guys? But tell me what you guys think, and I'll make sure to see you guys later. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you until the next one.